Well, good morning. Yes, it's me, Kenny Polcari, your host of the party, and today is July 8th, 2025, and here I am in beautiful Cape Cod, and it is going to be a hot one today. I can feel it as I'm sitting here talking to you. Well, here are the things you need to know to get your day started. Well, the market expressed some exhaustion yesterday, and stocks declined. Tariffs and Tesla, well, that's the weakness that's being blamed on the sell-off. Oil is up, gold was down, bonds were down, and guess what? Yields are moving higher. Earnings start next week, and that's what you should be focusing on. And what do we have for dinner tonight? We're going to have the pasta primavera. It works perfectly in the summertime. So look, here's what I said yesterday. A look at the chart screams overbought, and the relative strength index is confirming that. The RSI closed on Thursday at 75.5728, well above the 70 line, which is a level that typically suggests an exhausted market. That's how I ended the note yesterday. That's how I'm beginning it today. And that's exactly what happened. Stocks slid yesterday, falling from their all-time highs that they registered on Thursday afternoon. Now, yesterday's action just reflected exhaustion. The Dow lost 422 points or 1%. The S&P down 50 points or 0.8. The Nasdaq down 188 or 0.9. The Russell down 35 points or 1.5%. The transports gave up 235 points or 1.5%. The equal-weighted S&P lost 65 points or 0.9, while the Mag 7 gave back 401 points or 1.5%. Now, yes, you can point to the losses in Tesla, which was down 6.8%, or Apple down 1.7%, or Goldman Sachs down 1.8%, or maybe even Sherwin-Williams down 2.25%. Or you can blame the latest tariff talk, and you can blame the fallout from the big, beautiful bill that got passed on Thursday, or you can blame exhaustion, period. Now, the media is pointing to the angst created by the latest tariff drama, put forward by Trump, setting tariff amounts for Japan at 25%, and South Korea at 25%, and South Africa at 30%, beginning in August. These are separate from the existing sectoral tariffs that exist on autos and steel and aluminum and are intended to address the trade deficits. They apply to all goods from these countries unless they reach trade agreements with the U.S. or manufacture these products in the United States, in which case there would be no tariffs. Now, additionally, Trump warned that if the countries raise their own tariffs in retaliation, the U.S. will increase in tariffs by an equivalent amount. So if Japan adds a 10% retaliatory tariff, then Trump's going to also impose an additional 10% retaliatory tariff on top of the announced rates. I'd say, okay, but I'm not subscribing to that argument at all right now. And why? Because South Africa's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, emphasized ongoing diplomatic efforts to negotiate exemptions. Japan and South Korea also expressing regret and committing to intensified trade talks to mitigate the impact before the August 1st deadline. So I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So I'm in the camp that this is going to get resolved and tariff rates will not be what they appear to be. Again, I do not think August 1st is a hard deadline because July 9th wasn't a hard deadline. Either, right? As long as the countries come to the table in good faith. And the key theme here is in good faith. Now, I understand that the media needs a reason to explain the move, but don't get carried away. I am also discounting the bill and the move in Tesla, right? Tesla this morning is up $1.40 or 1.3% in the pre-market. I'm discounting those moves as a reason for the decline. I'm in the exhausted camp. Nothing more, nothing less. Remember, the S&P gained 30% off the April low. Nasdaq was up 39%. Industrials have gained 22%. The Russell's up 29%. The transports are up 29%. The equal-weighted S&P was up 23%, while the Mag 7 was up 43% off those April lows. Of the 11 S&P sectors, utility bucked the trend yesterday, and they rose 0.2%. Consumer discretionary was the loss leader, down 1.3%. Financials, communications, energy, and basic materials all lost 0.9%. Healthcare and real estate and tech lost 0.8%. Industrials were down 0.3%, while consumer staples just gave up 0.1%. Further down the list, you saw weakness in home builders down 1.4%, retail down 0.9%, airlines down 1.3%, disruptive tech down 0.9%, the value trade down 0.7%, the growth trade down 0.7%, semis down nearly 2%, metals and miners down 1.3%. Emerging markets, though, got slapped as well. They were down 1.4%. Now that is a direct tariff hit. And if you took the contra bets, you won. The dog was up 0.9. The SNH was up 0.75%. The PSQ was up 0.8. The VIXI was up 1.2%, while the SPSX, which is the triple leverage short, gained 2.4%. Bonds got hit. The TLT down 9/10, the TLH down 7/10, while the AG lost only 4/10. Yields went up, and they are up again today. The 2 years now yielding 3.89, the 10 years 4.41, and the 30 years at 4.95, inching ever closer to the 5% warning flag. Oil rose by a buck or 1.4% to end the day at 67.92, all while the energy fell. Now, you can point to a couple of reasons for the disconnect. Ongoing concerns in the Middle East. Iran suspended their cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog, and that continues to influence prices. This move raised fears of a potential supply disruption from Iran, supporting higher oil prices in the short term despite recent ceasefire developments between Israel and Iran. And then we had the OPEC Plus output hike, right? Those expectations, which had been interpreted as confidence in demand, supported a short-term price rise, while a U.S.-Vietnam trade deal and expectations of lower U.S. interest rates could also be boosting optimism around global economic activity, thus oil demand as well. This morning, oil is down 50 cents at 67.40, just on the north side of the trend line, which is at 66.70. I'm still in the camp, though, that oil prices are moving lower. And by the way, so is Bank of America. They came out this morning and said the same thing. Gold rose by $3.50 to end the day at $3,346, and this morning it's down $7.50 at $3,335 an ounce, below the trend line, leaving a possible test of the intermediate support down at $32.15, which I've been calling for. There's no economic data today that's going to influence the markets, but tomorrow brings us mortgage apps, wholesale trade sales and inventories, and the June FOMC minutes. Remember, investors are now preparing for earnings season, which starts in earnest next week on the 15th. This morning, U.S. futures are mixed. The Dow futures down 50, the SPs are up 6, the Nasdaq's up 50, while the Russell's up 7. Trump added to the list of countries expected to face higher tariffs on August 1st unless they come to the table. In my opinion, none of these are really a concern. Right? Bangladesh, Bosnia, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Serbia, Thailand, and Tunisia. European markets are essentially flat this morning. Germany's the leader, up only 0.3. France and Spain are down 0.1%. The S&P closed at 62.29, down 50 points. This morning, markets are mixed as investors try to price in more uncertainty. Uncertainty around trade, uncertainty around geopolitics, uncertainty around earnings. And that's going to kind of keep the market trading in this tight range. After yesterday's sell-off, the RSI is just now below the overbought line, but it's still suggesting some weakness ahead, in my opinion. I would not be surprised if we saw the S&P trade down to the 61.50 range over the next couple of days ahead of earnings. You can call me for a free no-obligation portfolio analysis at 561-931-0190. Happy to do it. Happy to have that discussion with you. So what do we have for dinner tonight? We're having the pasta primavera. It's perfect for summertime. And for this, you need penne or farfalle or whatever you want, a short pasta. You need a cup of broccoli florets, a cup of asparagus, trimmed and cut into 2-inch pieces. You need a medium zucchini sliced into those half moons. You need a cup of cherry tomatoes that you're going to cut in half. You need a small red bell pepper. You can use green and yellow if you want as well, thinly sliced. You need snap peas, a carrot that's thinly sliced, and a cup of vegetable broth. For the sauce, you're going to need olive oil, 3 cloves of garlic that you're going to chop, a cup of heavy cream. You can use half and half if you want. You need grated Parmesan cheese plus extra for serving on the table. You need some of the pasta water, otherwise known as Tears of the Gods. You need zest and the juice of 1 lemon. You need a teaspoon of dried Italian seasoning, salt and pepper to taste. Bring a large pot of salted water to a rolling boil. Cook your pasta according to what the package instructions tell you. I say 8 minutes because you want to keep it a little bit al dente. You want to reserve, after it's cooked, you want to strain it, always keeping a cup of the pasta water, and then just set that aside. While that's happening, in a large saute pan, you're going to heat up the olive oil over medium heat. You're going to add the broccoli, the asparagus, and the carrots. You're going to saute that for 3 or 4 minutes, just until they're tender but crisp. You don't want to make them soggy, right? Then you're going to add in the zucchini, the bell pepper, and the snap peas. You're going to cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. You're going to add the cherry tomatoes, cook that around for a couple more minutes more. You want to get it all nice and warm and hot together. Then remove the vegetables from the skillet and set them aside. Now in that same skillet, you're going to add a little bit more olive oil, saute some garlic over, take your garlic, saute it over medium heat. Don't burn it. You're going to pour in some of the vegetable broth, scraping up any of the brown bits on the bottom. You're going to add the heavy cream, the lemon zest, the lemon juice, and the Italian seasoning. Simmer that for 2 or 3 minutes until it's slightly thickened. Now stir in the Parmesan cheese until it's melted. If the sauce gets too thick, this is where you're going to add in the Tears of the Gods. You're going to season it then with salt and pepper to taste. Now you're going to add the cooked pasta and the sauteed vegetable to the skillet. You're going to toss it gently to coat everything in the sauce. Cook it for another 1 or 2 minutes just to warm it up through and make sure it's all coated. You're going to serve it immediately in warm bowls, always making sure that you have extra cheese on the table for your guests. Look, it is a stunningly beautiful day. Look behind me, the sky was kind of drippy this morning, but look at this. The clouds are parting, the sky is blue, and the sun is out, and the tide is on its way up. Until tomorrow, take good care.